Good morning, everybody. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Thank you for joining me here today. If you want to follow along, we will be in Genesis chapter 19, beginning in verse number 4. If you will, like, share, comment on the post, and I guess give you a warning here. If you're not familiar with the passage, maybe a little bit PG-13 today. I'm not going to read the whole passage. I'll just summarize it for you, verses 4 through 11. That evening, as the guest had come into Lot's house, all the men of Sodom, they come in, they surround Lot's house, they begin to beat on the doors and demand that he send his guest out to them. They wanted him to come out, not for friendly conversation. They had immorality in their mind. I'll put it that way. And so Lot went out to them and begged them, said, leave these guys alone. You don't want to mess with them. Instead, let me bring you and give you my 2 virgin daughters. I'll give them to you, but leave these men alone. And these men of the street won't accept that offer. Stand back. We want, we want these men who came in to your house, and the Bible says they basically come after Lot. When they do, the guests, the angels that are in Lot's house, they reach out, they bring Lot back in the house, and they strike all those in the street with blindness, where they cannot even find the house. Yeah, that's a rough story. But we see just how low, how immoral Sodom and Gomorrah were. We see how far down the pole here, how far down the evolutionary scale Lot had slid, the level of his depravity, how wicked the human heart can become, how far backsliders, how worldly they can become. And so we see here a picture of Lot's depravity, the men of Sodom's depravity, the level of godlessness that is demonstrated in this town, that all the young and the old, all the men of the town, they have this homosexual lust. And they're shouting out their desires. They're not sneaking around. They're not hiding. They're out in the streets shouting about their plans and their desires, their intentions to rape Lot's visitors. And that's where Lot's living. Lot has moved in with these people, and for all intents and purposes, he has become one of them. Again, we remember when this story started. He was out at the gates of the city with them. In fact, look what he calls them in verse 7. He goes out and he says, I beg you, my brothers. Lot, my brothers, my friends. He's identifying with this crowd. He's moved in and he has become like them. He has lived among the worldly, the ungodly. He has lived like the worldly and the ungodly for so long that he has no more testimony. And to them, in the minds of the men of that town, Lot was one of them. No matter what Lot was thinking or what was in Lot's mind, the people of that town saw no difference in Lot and his thinking and his actions than their own. And in fact, it's pretty obvious. They fully expected that Lot would give them over these men, that he would do what they wanted to do, that he would probably be part of it with them. Lot has become so worldly, so ungodly, so wicked, that he even offers to give them his own daughters. Just trying to calm this mob in some way. People have debated, why did he do this? Was he just trying to save his own life? Was he just scared and confused? Did he realize that these two, his guests, were angels, and that he would be willing to sacrifice his daughters for them? Bible doesn't say. I don't know that any of those answers make it any better. He was just switching sin here. One sin for another sin. Whether it was giving up the men or giving up his daughters, whatever it was either way. Sin was sin. And it just boils down to, very simply, we can say this: Lot's living an immoral, hypocritical, ungodly life. He'd been sitting at the gate as a judge in Sodom, and yet he's wicked as the day is long himself. Any way you do it. As we look at this immorality, one of the best books available on commentaries on the book of Genesis is written by a man by the name of Henry Morris. And on this passage and the whole idea of the homosexuality and the acts and the immorality that's going on there, he has this to say, and I'm just going to read it to you word for word, rather than try to fix it up. He says it so well that I think it needs just simply to be put into your hearing. He says, the fact that the old men as well as the young men were driven by these lusts, and that rather than practicing them in secret, they shouted their desires aloud in the street, adds still another dimension of enormity of the thing. No wonder God had told Abraham that the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great and their sin is very grievous in verse 20. In these modern days, after 2,000 years of Christian teaching to which these Sodomites never had access, what must God think of the current revival of homosexuality manifest in gay liberation movements and political organizations and even gay religious societies, not only among liberals, but even among some evangelicals? If God was prepared to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, how much more angry, grieved must he be with our society today that has 2,000 years of the preaching of the gospel and still chooses immorality? Something to think about. You have a good day. I'll see you here tomorrow morning.